The Apache girl stood at the edge of the mesa where the land dropped away into open sky, her silhouette carved by the last light of day. The desert breathed slowly around her, warm stone releasing the heat it had held since morning. She had learned this land the way others learned language, through patience, pain, and repetition. Every wind shift, every bird call, every shadow stretching across the earth told her something. It was here she felt most herself and most alone. Below, a lone rider moved across the plain, dust lifting softly behind the horse's hooves. She watched without tension, without fear. Outsiders passed through these lands often, usually loud, usually hurried, usually blind to anything that could not be claimed or fenced. But this rider moved differently. He guided his horse gently, letting it choose its pace, stopping once to look up at the mesa as if sensing he was being seen. When he reached the camp, he removed his hat before speaking. That small act mattered more than words. His voice was calm, weathered, shaped by long days and longer nights. He spoke of cattle, of a broken axle on the trail, of water sources running thin. She answered briefly, offering what help she could, her eyes steady, her posture guarded but not closed. As the fire was lit, darkness settled in layers. The cowboy sat across from her, the flames reflecting in his eyes. He did not press for stories, and so she found herself offering them anyway. Fragments of childhood, of elders who taught her to listen before speaking, of loss that came without warning. He listened, as if each word carried weight. At some point, silence took over. Not the awkward kind, but the kind that grows naturally when two people stop performing for the world. The wind moved through the camp, lifting sparks into the sky. She spoke then, quietly, not looking at him. No one ever kissed me. It wasn't sadness that shaped the sentence. It was fact. A life lived strong and untouched by gentleness. The words fell between them and stayed there. The cowboy did not react right away. He didn't smile, didn't speak. He only looked into the fire, as if measuring something unseen. The night wrapped around them, vast and patient, and for the first time in a long while, she did not feel the need to stand guard against it. Morning arrived quietly, the kind that did not announce itself, but simply replaced the dark. A thin light stretched across the ground, revealing the marks left behind by the night, ashes cooled to gray. Blankets folded, the earth pressed flat where bodies had rested. Beyond the camp, the ranch land lay open and still, dust hanging low as if unsure whether to rise. The cowboy was already awake, moving with deliberate care. He checked the horses first, running a calm hand along a warm neck, murmuring nothing in particular. The animals responded to his steadiness, shifting but not pulling away. As they stepped, their hooves turned the dirt back on itself, leaving clear tracks that curved away from the camp and disappeared toward the fence line. The marks felt symbolic, though neither of them said it aloud. She watched from a distance, gathering plants near the edge of the creek bed. Her movements were practiced, economical. She noticed how he did not intrude on her work, how he kept his space, how his attention stayed on what needed doing rather than on her. That restraint mattered. It told her more than compliments ever could. Later, they worked side by side, repairing a broken section of fence. Wire scraped softly, wood shifted, dust rose and settled again. The sun climbed, warming their backs, the light catching in the air between them. They exchanged only what was necessary. Tools passed, knots checked, brief nods instead of conversation. Yet there was an awareness there, steady and unforced. When the work was done, they stood for a moment without moving on. The land stretched out before them, open and indifferent as it always had been. She turned toward him then, her expression unchanged but her gaze direct. There was no question in it, no demand, only honesty unguarded and rare. He hesitated, not from fear but from respect. He searched her face the way one reads weather, looking for signs, waiting for certainty. When he stepped closer, it was slow enough that she could have turned away. She didn't. He bent down slightly and placed a gentle kiss on her forehead. It lasted no longer than a breath. There was no claim in it, no promise attached. It was simply an acknowledgment of her words from the night before, of her strength, of her presence in that moment. The wind moved past them, stirring dust and carrying it onward, as if marking the instant and letting it go. She closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again, steady as before. Nothing needed to be said. The day continued as days always do, but the space between them felt altered, not filled, just understood. The days that followed moved at their usual pace, shaped by light, work, and the quiet agreements people make with the land. The cowboy stayed only as long as he needed to, helping where help was useful and staying out of the way when it was not. He mended tack, shared supplies, and spoke little. Whatever had passed between them did not linger in his words or his actions, and that steadiness gave it room to remain what it was. When the morning came for him to leave, there was no ceremony to mark it. He saddled his horse while the sky was still pale, the air cool enough to raise breath from the animals. The ground bore fresh tracks again, hooves pressing forward this time, pointed toward the open range. She watched from near the fire pit, her posture relaxed, hands busy with small tasks she did not truly need to finish. They exchanged a nod, nothing more. He did not look back as he rode out, and she did not call after him. The land closed behind his passing, dust settling, sound fading as it always did. By midday, there was no sign he had ever been there at all. Life returned fully to itself. She walked the familiar paths, gathered what was needed, listened to the wind and the distant movement of animals. The world remained demanding and unsentimental. Storms still came without warning. Loss still arrived when it chose. Nothing about the land had softened, yet something had shifted quietly within her, not in a way that demanded attention, but in a way that steadied her. The memory she carried was not of the cowboy's face or voice, but of a moment that had been offered without expectation. It had taken nothing from her. It had added nothing she could not carry. As seasons changed, she told no one about it. There was no need. The elders spoke often of moments that shaped a person without announcing themselves, moments that passed like shadows and left understanding behind. This was one of those. Sometimes, when she stood again at the edge of the mesa at dusk, watching light stretch and fade, she felt that same stillness return, not longing, not regret, just recognition. The knowledge that kindness could exist without possession, that respect could be shown without words, that even brief crossings could matter. The wind moved across the earth, steady and indifferent, carrying dust, carrying memory, carrying nothing at all. She stood within it, grounded, unchanged in all the ways that mattered, and quietly certain that what had happened did not need to happen again to remain real.